Some say we're on the brink of a cataclysmic shift. Others dismiss it as myth, a tale from an ancient book with no relevance to today. But what if Armageddon, the ultimate prophecy of the apocalypse, holds more truth than we dare to believe? This isn't just about wars or natural disasters. It's about the spiritual forces shaping our world, the clash of good and evil that's been brewing since the dawn of time. Could the chaos and uncertainty we see today be whispers of a much greater conflict? And if so, what does it mean for you and the choices you make every day? In this journey, we'll unravel the prophecy of Armageddon, dive into its powerful symbols, and uncover the deeper truths it reveals. From the deceptive forces of the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet to the triumphant victory of the Lamb, this isn't just a story. It's a call to action, a challenge to see the world through a lens of eternal significance. What if understanding this prophecy could transform the way you live, the way you think, and the way you prepare for what's to come? The word Armageddon stirs something primal in all of us. It's more than a word. It's a symbol, a final destination etched into the fabric of prophecy. In the Bible, it's not just a place, but the stage for the ultimate showdown between good and evil. Imagine a cosmic chessboard where every move echoes into eternity. Armageddon is the final move. Could these events be closer than we dare to admit? The concept of Armageddon isn't confined to ancient texts. It resonates through time, weaving its way into the fears and hopes of humanity. Many wonder if the wars, chaos, and unrest we see today are shadows of this ultimate prophecy. Take a moment to reflect. What if these signs aren't coincidences? The notion of a final battle challenges us to look deeper into the meaning of life and the choices we make daily. Biblically, Armageddon is more than a battlefield. It's the physical and spiritual manifestation of the ultimate clash. This isn't just a war of nations, but a cosmic conflict between righteousness and rebellion. Picture standing at the crossroads of destiny, where every choice feels weighted with eternal significance. How would you prepare for such a moment? The book of Revelation paints a vivid picture of this prophetic event. The imagery is both mysterious and gripping, filled with symbols that invite reflection. The location itself, often linked to the ancient site of Megiddo, speaks of past battles while pointing toward a cataclysmic future event. Could it be that history repeats itself, but on a divine scale? In many ways, the idea of Armageddon serves as a mirror. It reflects humanity's capacity for both incredible good and unthinkable evil. Have you ever stopped to think about the small battles we face daily? Moments where we choose between selflessness and selfishness, truth and deception. These seemingly minor choices prepare us for something far greater. The prophecy of Armageddon also challenges us to rethink how we view power and control. So often, humanity places its faith in systems, leaders, or ideologies that promise peace but fail to deliver. This ultimate battle reveals the fragility of human constructs when measured against divine purpose. Could it be that true peace only comes when we align with something greater than ourselves? One of the most intriguing aspects of Armageddon is its connection to hope. While it represents destruction and judgment, it also signifies renewal and ultimate victory. This duality invites us to ask deeper questions. Is the chaos we see today paving the way for something far more profound? Could the darkest hour truly lead to the dawn? The prophecy speaks of forces of good and evil gathering for a climactic conflict. This isn't just a story, it's a call to action. How we live now echoes into eternity. Imagine your life as a ripple in a vast ocean. The choices you make, the battles you face, they matter, and they build towards something much larger than we can comprehend. Armageddon also serves as a wake-up call to examine what we're building in this life. Are our foundations strong enough to withstand the trials to come? Think of it like constructing a house on solid rock versus shifting sand. When the storm comes, which will stand? This metaphor challenges us to evaluate the values and beliefs we cling to. For many, the mention of Armageddon triggers fear, but the Bible offers something deeper: preparation and trust. Imagine standing in the middle of the storm, yet feeling unshakable peace. That's the promise for those who understand the bigger picture and align themselves with the eternal plan. How can we cultivate that kind of resilience in our lives today? Armageddon isn't about defeat. It's about victory through faith. The imagery might be overwhelming, but it's a reminder that the ultimate triumph belongs to good. Think about the most challenging moments in your life. Weren't they often followed by growth, clarity, and renewal? This prophecy mirrors that on a cosmic scale. It's fascinating to see how different cultures interpret the concept of a final battle. From ancient myths to modern movies, the idea of a climactic showdown resonates universally. Why do you think that is? Perhaps it's because deep down, we all sense that our lives are part of a greater story, a story that leads to resolution and redemption. As the prophecy unfolds, we are left with a question. What role do we play in this grand narrative? Are we passive observers, or are we active participants in shaping the future? The prophecy of Armageddon is not just a warning, but an invitation to prepare, to reflect, and to align our lives with a higher purpose. And that purpose takes us deeper into understanding the forces at play, leading us toward the next step in this journey. In the prophecy of Armageddon, the adversaries aren't just physical enemies. They're rich with symbolism that challenges our understanding of good and evil. The dragon, the beast, and the false prophet represent more than mere characters. They embody the forces that oppose divine truth. Imagine them as shadowy figures that thrive on chaos, deception, and manipulation. But who or what could they be in today's world? The dragon, described in Revelation, is often associated with Satan, the ultimate adversary. It's a force that goes beyond temptation, actively working to corrupt and mislead. Think about how greed, pride, and selfishness weave their way into society. Could this be the dragon's influence, slowly pulling people away from the path of righteousness without them even noticing? The beast, on the other hand, symbolizes oppressive power. It's the kind of authority that strips people of their freedom and forces allegiance to something false. We see glimpses of this in history: tyrannical leaders, corrupt systems, and regimes that demand loyalty at any cost. Could these be echoes of the beast, playing out in different forms as time progresses? Then there's the false prophet, a master of spiritual deceit. This figure represents ideologies and movements that twist truth to serve their purposes. It's the voice that claims to guide, but leads people astray. Think about the rise of false narratives and the way misinformation spreads like wildfire today. Could this be a modern-day reflection of the false prophet's work? Together, these three adversaries create a trinity of destruction. They don't just attack the body, they target the mind and soul. Their goal is to distort reality, making the path of truth harder to find. It's like walking through a fog where everything looks familiar but feels unsettlingly wrong. How do we navigate this fog? That's the challenge they present. These symbolic figures remind us of the battles we face daily, internal and external. Whether it's the temptation to compromise our values, the pressure to conform, or the confusion of conflicting truths, their influence is everywhere. Recognizing these forces in our lives is the first step toward overcoming them. Can you identify where they might be showing up in your own experiences? Practical examples help bring these symbols to life. Imagine someone chasing financial success so relentlessly that they sacrifice relationships and integrity along the way. That's the beast's grip. Or consider the allure of influencers who preach truths that sound good but lead to emptiness, echoes of the false prophet. These aren't just abstract ideas. They're realities we encounter every day. How do we resist these adversaries? It starts with discernment. Building a foundation of spiritual wisdom equips us to see through deception. Consider reading resources like the Bible, especially the letters of Paul, which provide tools for recognizing and resisting false teachings. Surround yourself with voices of truth, mentors, leaders, and communities committed to integrity. The adversaries also teach us about the dangers of unchecked power and influence. History is filled with examples of leaders who started with good intentions but fell prey to corruption. The lesson here is that no one is immune to the dragon, the beast, or the false prophet. Staying grounded in truth is our best defense. What are you doing today to stay rooted in what's real? The interplay between these symbols is fascinating. They don't operate in isolation but feed off one another. The dragon empowers the beast amplifies the false prophet. It's a cycle that perpetuates chaos. Breaking this cycle requires vigilance and action. Are there cycles in your own life that need to be disrupted? Now is the time to reflect. This symbolic trio also mirrors the challenges of modern society. The dragon's influence can be seen in the rampant pursuit of self-interest. The beast lurks in systems that prioritize profit over people. The false prophet thrives in the age of misinformation, where truth becomes a matter of opinion. Seeing these parallels helps us recognize their presence in unexpected places. Understanding these adversaries isn't just about fear, it's about empowerment. The more we understand their tactics, the better equipped we are to resist. Think about the armor of God described in Ephesians: truth, righteousness, faith, and more. These aren't just abstract virtues, but practical tools for standing firm. How can you apply them in your own life? There's a deeper message here about the nature of evil. It doesn't always come roaring in like a lion. Sometimes it's subtle, disguised as something good. The dragon, the beast, and the false prophet remind us to look beyond appearances and question the motives behind what we see and hear. What's one area of your life where you could be more discerning? As we delve deeper into these adversaries, their connection to the greater prophecy of Armageddon becomes clearer. They're not just players in a story. They're lessons about the struggles we face and the victories we can achieve. And this leads us to explore the spiritual forces driving these symbols forward. Demonic spirits that shape ideologies and move leaders toward rebellion. In the prophecy of Armageddon, the appearance of demonic spirits is a chilling but fascinating element. These aren't mere apparitions, they are agents of chaos, disguised in forms that subtly influence humanity. The Bible describes them as spirits resembling frogs, an odd image at first glance. But when you think about it, frogs leap unpredictably, much like the ideologies and movements these spirits inspire. What if the seemingly random shifts in global power and belief systems are echoes of their influence? These spirits play a pivotal role in gathering the kings of the earth for the ultimate rebellion against God. But how does this happen? It's not through overt force, but through cunning persuasion. Consider how easily leaders are swayed by ambition, greed, or fear. These spirits don't show up with horns and pitchforks. They whisper through the systems and ideologies that drive decisions. Could the divisiveness and unrest we see today be part of this manipulation? The symbolism of frogs is intriguing. In ancient cultures, frogs were often associated with plagues and uncleanliness, a fitting representation for spirits that spread corruption. They hop into places they don't belong, contaminating what they touch. Think about the spread of destructive ideas that pit people against one another. Are there frogs in your own life, thoughts or influences that leap into your mind, uninvited, and disrupt your peace? These spirits also highlight how rebellion often starts small. A seemingly harmless ideology, when left unchecked, can grow into something divisive and destructive. Consider the way propaganda or misinformation can sway public opinion. It starts with a whisper, but soon it becomes a roar, shaping policies and decisions. How can we guard our minds and hearts against such subtle influences? One practical example is how movements fueled by demonic spirits often mask themselves as noble causes. At first glance, they appear to fight for justice or unity, but their undercurrent sows discord and rebellion. Take a moment to reflect on the causes you support. Are they aligned with truth and righteousness, or could they be influenced by forces you don't fully understand? These spirits aren't limited to leaders and governments. They target individuals too. Have you ever found yourself drawn to an idea or trend that seemed good at first, but later left you feeling uneasy? That's their power, manipulating emotions and logic to lead people away from the truth. This isn't to say every trend is evil, but discernment is crucial. What tools do you use to filter the influences in your life? The prophecy paints a picture of these spirits as emissaries of the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet. They act as messengers, spreading the agendas of these adversaries. It's like watching a web being spun, each thread seemingly disconnected, but part of a larger, more sinister design. How do we avoid getting caught in this web? One way is to anchor ourselves in unchanging truth. Guarding against these spirits requires more than intellectual effort. It's a spiritual battle. Prayer, meditation on scripture, and seeking wisdom are essential. Imagine fortifying your mind like a castle with walls of faith and gates of discernment. Resources like Proverbs and Psalms are full of guidance for building this kind of spiritual resilience. How can you start incorporating these practices into your daily life? Another striking aspect of these spirits is their ability to manipulate leaders on a global scale. They don't just influence individuals, they drive nations toward conflict. Look at history. How many wars and uprisings began with leaders succumbing to pride or greed? These aren't just human failings. They're often the result of unseen forces at work. What lessons can we learn from these patterns to guide our choices today? Their impact isn't always dramatic at first. It often begins in subtle ways, like a seed planted in fertile soil. Over time, that seed grows into a tree of rebellion. This serves as a warning to guard the soil of our minds and hearts. Are we cultivating thoughts and beliefs that lead to peace and truth, or are we allowing weeds of deceit to take root? The Spirit's role in gathering the kings of the earth reminds us that evil is both pervasive and persistent. It doesn't rest. It strategizes, adapting to the times and circumstances. This is why vigilance is crucial. Staying informed and connected to a community of faith can help us recognize and resist these influences. Who are the people in your life that help you stay grounded in truth? There's also a lesson here about the power of influence. Just as these spirits manipulate leaders and nations, we, too, have the ability to influence others, for good or ill. Every word we speak, every action we take, creates ripples. Are your ripples contributing to unity and truth, or are they feeding division? This question challenges us to reflect on the kind of influence we want to have. As we explore the role of these demonic spirits, we see how their work prepares the stage for the ultimate judgment. Their influence is pervasive but not unstoppable. The next step in this journey takes us into the heart of God's response. Divine judgment, poured out in bowls that bring justice to a corrupted world and challenge us to confront the consequences of rebellion. The prophecy of Armageddon takes a dramatic turn with the pouring of the 7 bowls of God's judgment. These bowls are more than just symbols. They represent a divine response to centuries of rebellion and corruption. Imagine them as a final reckoning, a moment when the scales of justice tip decisively. Each bowl carries consequences that touch every corner of the world, reminding us that no one escapes accountability. The imagery of the bowls is striking, filled with apocalyptic intensity. One bowl brings sores upon those who bear the mark of the beast. Another turns the seas to blood. It's easy to get lost in the dramatic visuals, but there's a deeper message here. These judgments aren't random. They're precise, targeting the systems and ideologies that have led humanity astray. Could these events be a reflection of the consequences we see unfolding in our own world? Take, for example, the bowl that causes the rivers and springs to turn to blood. Water, the very source of life, is corrupted. This isn't just about physical punishment. It's a metaphor for how rebellion taints even the purest aspects of existence. Think about the resources we take for granted: clean water, air, food. When these are misused or polluted, isn't it a form of judgment in itself? How can we start being better stewards of what we've been given? The judgments also target the systems of power that have exploited the weak and defied God's laws. One bowl brings darkness to the kingdom of the beast, plunging it into chaos. This is a powerful reminder that no system, no matter how invincible it seems, is beyond collapse. History is filled with examples, empires that rose with grandeur but fell under the weight of their own corruption. Are there systems today that mirror these patterns? One of the most humbling aspects of these judgments is how they expose humanity's stubbornness. Even as the world suffers, people refuse to repent. It's a sobering reminder of how pride and defiance can blind us to truth. Have you ever seen someone cling to their way, even when it's clearly not working? It's a challenge to examine our own hearts and ask, are we open to correction, or are we too set in our ways? The pouring of the bowls also speaks to the completeness of divine justice. Each bowl addresses a specific area: nature, governance, society, showing that no part of creation is exempt from accountability. It's like a house being cleansed from top to bottom. While the process may seem harsh, it's ultimately about restoration. What areas of your own life might need this kind of thorough examination? Practical examples of judgment are all around us, though they often come in quieter forms. Think about the consequences of greed, dishonesty, or neglect. A business built on corruption may thrive for a while, but eventually collapses. Relationships fractured by lies eventually crumble. These are echoes of the divine principle that what is sown will be reaped. How can you start sowing seeds of integrity and faithfulness today? The bowls also remind us of the interconnectedness of humanity. When one part of the world suffers, the impact ripples outward. A famine in one region leads to economic strain in another. A war displaces millions, creating crises far beyond the battlefield. This global perspective challenges us to think beyond ourselves. Are there ways you can contribute to healing and restoration, even in small ways? As dramatic as these judgments are, they're not the end of the story. They're part of a larger plan that leads to renewal and victory. It's a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there's purpose. Have you ever faced a situation that felt like judgment but turned out to be the catalyst for growth and change? These moments reflect the transformative power of God's justice. The imagery of angels pouring the bowls is also significant. Angels often symbolize God's messengers and servants, acting as instruments of His will. This reinforces the idea that judgment is not random, but carefully executed according to a divine plan. It's like a skilled surgeon, removing what's diseased to save the body. How can we trust in the process, even when it feels painful or overwhelming? Divine judgment also serves as a warning to prepare. The prophecy is clear that these events are not sudden. They're the result of choices made over time. This invites us to reflect on our own decisions and the direction they're leading us. Are we building lives that align with eternal truths, or are we investing in things that will ultimately pass away? While these judgments are sobering, they also carry a message of hope. They show that God doesn't ignore evil or injustice. Every wrong will be made right, every hidden deed brought to light. This assurance can be a source of comfort, especially when the world feels chaotic and unfair. How can we hold on to this hope and share it with others? As the bowls of judgment are poured out, they set the stage for the dramatic fall of Babylon. This ancient symbol of corrupt power and rebellion takes center stage, showing us what happens when humanity builds without God. What lessons can we learn from Babylon's downfall, and how do they apply to the systems we see in our own world today? The fall of Babylon is one of the most dramatic moments in the prophecy of Armageddon. Babylon isn't just a city, it's a symbol of humanity's rebellion against God, a representation of corrupt power and self-serving systems. In the Bible, it's described as a seductive yet treacherous entity, drawing nations into its web of deceit. Imagine a structure so grand and alluring, yet so rotten at its core that it collapses under its own weight. What modern parallels can we draw from this imagery? Babylon's allure lies in its promise of wealth, pleasure, and security. But these promises are built on exploitation and oppression. Think about industries or systems today that seem glamorous on the surface but thrive on unethical practices. Whether it's exploitation of labor, environmental degradation, or the spread of misinformation, these are echoes of Babylon. Could it be that the prophecy is closer to reality than we realize? In Revelation, Babylon is called the Great Prostitute, a powerful metaphor for unfaithfulness and greed. This isn't just about literal adultery. It's about humanity's tendency to chase after things that pull us away from God. It's the endless pursuit of materialism, power, and status. Have you ever felt the pull of these temptations? How often do we find ourselves distracted by the very things that ultimately leave us empty? The fall of Babylon is marked by lamentations from those who profited from her. Merchants, kings, and sailors mourn her destruction, not because of her righteousness, but because their source of wealth is gone. This highlights how intertwined we can become with corrupt systems. Reflect on this. Are there areas in your life where you've become too dependent on something that isn't aligned with truth or integrity? One practical example can be seen in financial greed. Companies that prioritize profit over ethics often find themselves at the center of scandals, leading to massive losses. Think of organizations that have collapsed due to corruption or unsustainable practices. Modern-day Babylons falling under the weight of their greed. How can we ensure our own pursuits are grounded in integrity rather than fleeting gain? Babylon's fall also represents the ultimate exposure of hypocrisy. For so long, it appeared invincible, its facade hiding its decay. But when judgment comes, the truth is revealed. This serves as a powerful reminder that no matter how well we hide our flaws or wrongdoings, they will eventually come to light. It's a challenge to live authentically, knowing that what's hidden will one day be revealed. The prophecy shows us that Babylon's destruction is sudden and complete. In 1 hour, it's gone, leaving behind desolation. This emphasizes the fragility of human-made systems when they're built on deception and pride. Think about the financial crises or sudden collapses of powerful entities we've witnessed in recent history. Could these be warnings of what happens when we place our trust in unstable foundations? There's also a personal lesson in Babylon's downfall. It invites us to reflect on the Babylons in our own lives, the things we build or chase after that aren't rooted in faith or truth. It could be an unhealthy relationship, a toxic habit, or even a career path that compromises your values. What steps can you take to dismantle these false foundations before they collapse? Babylon's fall is not just a judgment, but a liberation. Its destruction makes way for something new and pure. This reminds us that sometimes what feels like loss is actually the beginning of renewal. Have you ever experienced a situation where something you thought was essential fell apart, only to realize later that it was a blessing in disguise? This perspective changes how we view challenges and setbacks. The prophecy also highlights how widespread Babylon's influence is. It's not confined to one region or culture, it impacts the whole world. This serves as a warning about how interconnected our actions are. When we support corrupt systems, even indirectly, we become part of their downfall. How can we be more intentional about aligning our choices with values that promote justice and righteousness? Babylon's destruction is celebrated by the heavens as a triumph of justice. It shows that no matter how powerful evil seems, it cannot stand against the sovereignty of God. This is a source of hope for those who feel overwhelmed by the darkness in the world. How can we hold on to this hope and use it to inspire others in times of struggle? The vivid imagery of Babylon burning and the lament of those who depended on her remind us of the transient nature of worldly power. What seems unshakable today can crumble tomorrow. This calls us to invest in things that have eternal value: faith, love, and truth. What steps can you take to shift your focus from temporary gains to lasting impact? Babylon's fall paves the way for the ultimate victory of Christ and the establishment of his eternal kingdom. It's a turning point in the prophecy, showing that evil doesn't have the final say. As we move forward, we'll explore this climactic victory and the reign of the Lamb, a moment that fulfills the promise of hope and restoration. The prophecy of Armageddon reaches its triumphant conclusion with the victory of the Lamb. In this climactic moment, Christ, the Lamb of God, emerges as the ultimate conqueror, defeating the forces of evil and establishing his eternal kingdom. It's a victory unlike any other, not achieved through sheer force, but through righteousness and truth. Imagine a battle where love and justice prevail over chaos and rebellion. This is not just a story of conquest, it's the fulfillment of hope. The Lamb's victory is deeply symbolic. Throughout the Bible, the Lamb represents sacrifice, humility, and purity. This contrast with the violent imagery of the dragon and the beast is striking. While they rely on deception and power, the Lamb conquers with truth and grace. It's a reminder that real strength isn't found in aggression, but in steadfast faith and obedience. How does this redefine your understanding of what it means to be victorious? This moment also signifies the end of human rebellion. The forces of evil, so long unchecked, are finally subdued. Think about the times when it feels like injustice goes unpunished or when darkness seems to have the upper hand. The victory of the Lamb assures us that, in the end, justice will prevail. Have you ever faced a situation where perseverance in doing right ultimately brought resolution? This prophecy speaks to those moments on a cosmic scale. The imagery of Christ as the King of Kings and Lord of Lords underscores his ultimate authority. No power, no ruler, no system can stand against him. It's a powerful reminder for anyone who feels overwhelmed by the struggles of this world, even when it seems like everything is out of control. This prophecy assures us that the final outcome is secure. What areas of your life could benefit from trusting in this unshakable truth? One of the most profound aspects of this victory is its inclusivity. The Lamb's triumph isn't just for one group or nation, it's for all who choose to follow him. Picture a global celebration, people from every tribe and tongue rejoicing together. It's a vision of unity that transcends all the divisions we see today. How can we start reflecting this kind of unity in our own communities? The victory also highlights the power of faithfulness. The followers of the Lamb are described as those who have kept his commandments and remained loyal. It's a reminder that our daily choices, however small, matter. Think about the areas in your life where you've been tempted to compromise. How can the example of the Lamb inspire you to stay steadfast? This triumph isn't just about defeating evil, it's about establishing a new order. The old systems of corruption and oppression are dismantled, replaced by a kingdom rooted in righteousness and peace. Imagine a world where justice isn't a struggle, but a way of life. What steps can we take now to align our actions with this vision of the future? The prophecy also emphasizes the joy and celebration that follow the victory. The Lamb's followers are invited to the marriage supper of the Lamb, a beautiful symbol of reconciliation and fellowship. This isn't just about celebration, it's about restoration. Have you ever experienced a moment of profound joy after a long struggle? This is that feeling magnified infinitely. There's a practical lesson here about the importance of perseverance. The Lamb's followers didn't achieve victory by their own strength, but by remaining faithful despite trials. It's a challenge to keep going, even when the odds seem stacked against us. What can you do today to strengthen your faith and resilience for the battles ahead? The defeat of the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet marks the end of an era. Their power is destroyed, and they're cast into the lake of fire. This act symbolizes the complete eradication of evil and the start of something entirely new. It's a moment that invites us to reflect on the things in our own lives that need to be cast out to make room for renewal. Victory also brings clarity. The fog of deception lifted, and the truth is revealed. This is a reminder that the struggles we face often obscure the bigger picture. Have you ever had a moment where, looking back, everything finally made sense? The Lamb's triumph is the ultimate example of this kind of clarity, where everything falls into place according to a divine plan. The reign of the Lamb ushers in a kingdom unlike any other, a place where God dwells among his people and every tear is wiped away. It's the ultimate resolution, the culmination of all the promises made throughout Scripture. What would it look like to live each day with this hope in mind, allowing it to shape your actions and choices? As the prophecy concludes, it leaves us with a vision of eternal peace and purpose. The victory of the Lamb isn't just a moment, it's the beginning of forever. It challenges us to look beyond the immediate and focus on the eternal. What steps can we take to align our lives with this vision? The journey may be challenging, but the destination is worth it. As we've journeyed through the prophecy of Armageddon, one thing becomes clear. This is more than an ancient tale. It's a profound reminder of the spiritual battles shaping our world and the ultimate victory that awaits those who remain faithful. But here's the real question. What role are you playing in this unfolding story? Are you prepared for the choices that lie ahead? Are you building a life rooted in truth, or are you caught in the distractions of a fleeting world? Now is the time to reflect, to act, and to align yourself with a purpose far greater than anything this world can offer. What steps will you take today to live with the kind of faith and perseverance that mirrors the triumph of the Lamb? If this message has stirred something in you, don't let it end here. Share your thoughts. What do you see as your greatest challenge in staying faithful? What inspires you most about this prophecy? And if you want to continue exploring these profound truths, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications. Together, we'll dive even deeper into the Bible's mysteries, discovering the lessons that can transform our lives and prepare us for the ultimate victory. Don't miss what's coming next. The journey is just beginning.